Welcome to the Pinch to Zoom podcast. I'm Stetson.
I'm Gabe.
And welcome to the future. In this episode, we're talking about our tech predictions for the next decade.
Whoa.
That's 10 years. And we saw a huge evolution in our previous episode of how rapidly technology evolved in 10 years, which is, I guess, a pretty short period of time. Although that's like half my life. That's about...
Yeah, that's like a seventh to an eighth of a person's life time.
It's a substantial amount of time. A lot happens, and we're gonna take a stab at predicting the trends and I guess predicting where we see the world going.
What I really want is 10 years from now. Well, actually, I don't want this because some of my predictions I don't want to happen.
You're scary.
I would love to be able to, like, 10 years from now, listen back and be like, oh wow, I was definitely way wrong about that, or that was pretty close, you know.
Are our voices gonna change, or that's over?
You're wrong about that.
No, I mean,
yeah, that's how everyone's gonna talk in the future, like Yoda or something.
Oh, Baby Yoda's catching on.
Baby Yoda,
but Baby Yoda doesn't really say much right now. Yeah.
No.
So,
what's gonna be the Baby Yoda in 10 years? That's the question people want to know.
Plot twist: it's still just Baby Yoda because it takes so long to age.
Even babier Yoda, actually, if you're going by the timeline, right? 10 years ago, it was just regular Yoda, Baby Yoda. Now it's Baby Yoda.
Wow.
In 10 years.
Wow. Where do you want to start with this? How do you feel your predictions? Are they grouped together? What do you have?
I don't even know. Like, what is your prediction you're the most confident about?
Ooh.
Like, you would say, this is the one that's the hot take, but it's also the one I'm serving up, and I'm like, this is my main dish.
I mean, first of all, 5G, like, that's already coming out. I guess it took 10 years to get from 4G to 5G. So
yeah, but what is it gonna in 10 years? What is it gonna
we'll have a robust 5G coverage and we'll be launching 6G. I mean, I think that's how that's
you
been
don't
evolving.
Have any but how is it gonna change how we're using devices? How is it gonna
Okay, I think the biggest application, because 5G is high bandwidth.
Yeah.
And I think this actually ties in really well with AR and just augmented reality.
Yes,
just AR. And so what we're going to be able to see, we're going to be able to have people on the ground in more remote locations streaming AR instructions that can overlay diagrams, instructions, 3D models in the world in front of them to allow people to better understand how to perform a repair, fix a component, or I guess understand how a system works.
And do you think that, maybe 5G also could help, make devices smaller, right? So say you have an AR headset, it's not actually that big of a headset because it's sending all that data that it's collecting quickly back to the, these servers in the cloud that are then processing it, calculating it, and sending.
Oh, that's a really good. So
right?
I actually think that kind of ties in well. So I think 5G will enable it'll offload processing power. And that's one of the things how AR works. So, like, we could have really advanced, high detail, high resolution models, and all of that is just being processed on a computer elsewhere and streamed over that high speed gigabit per second 5G connection.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably one of the biggest ways. And I think that'll be huge, possibly in the medical industry. Like, I know models of the human body and how that works and explaining things to patients. I think in construction, that will be huge. I think maybe for builders, like, you could see what your building will look like in the real world when it's finished. Before you've even started yet, like on location, you can see that.
I still think one of the best and easiest applications of AR would be in a restaurant, okay? And when you go take orders and stuff like that, you have all the staff wearing AR glasses, right? And they can see, a table of 8, they can see, all right, this person ordered this person ordered this person ordered this. A different waitress can come back and be like, oh, this, it's kind of like those games online where you're waiting on people. That's what it would be in real life.
That would be interesting. And I bet you could also install cameras in other parts of the restaurant to monitor the food and beverage levels on people's plates and just put little icons like, oh, this person probably needs a refill.
Yeah, and up in the top corner of your glasses, right, it'd be like, all right, this table needs attention, right?
Well, I think the glasses will cover your full vision and you can just see like markers appear above people's heads.
Well, I'm thinking, but if you're not in the room, right? If you're going back in the kitchen and helping them
you'll just
prep
get
some
ping?
stuff, you can get you can see up in the top corner maybe like a map of the area and see, oh, these tables need attention.
Maybe you could even see through walls. Like if you're in if you're in the back kitchen area and the glasses can project the 3D model of the real kitchen, just like
I guess what if it was AR, right? It would be like you could just have it set to any wall space. It would pop up a map of the restaurant.
You can see
there,
that,
and then you could see. So like on any nearby wall, wherever you are, you'd look up. Oh, there's the map of the restaurant, and there's what tables are, and there's the people waiting.
We could see some huge AR workspaces too, because I think Microsoft has been trying to push this. But you could get glasses like high resolution, almost want to say like 8K glasses, something ridiculous. But you could basically project or overlay a huge like 4K or 6K monitor, but it's just like a virtual monitor, and you can just put your work on it, right?
I remember they had that disastrous presentation where they were showing, someone was working on a project, on like drawing or creating something on their computer, someone on their phone, and then another person was wearing the HoloLens.
I think it's the HoloLens, the Microsoft
HoloLens, and they were like walking through the object itself and like moving stuff around and being like, "Oh, it's so cool."
Yeah, that's what you want to say.
You don't want to say that because that was not cool in that presentation. But I think, Microsoft is right now the leading player in this space now, and those headsets are pretty big. But like we're saying, take that processing out of the device, put it in the cloud, and shrink it down. It becomes more powerful.
I could almost see, instead of having computer monitors, we'll have blank white spaces, and the glasses will just project data and keep it locked on that surface. And that way, you could see it, and it would just be in your eyes. That's how I see a possibility. That's crazy, though.
Yeah, it's so hard to predict though, because it's like, is that going to be something people want to buy? Yeah, is that
made up? How realistic is the scenario we just described?
Yes, they could do that. But are people going to want to move away from regular monitors? You need like an advantage?
How expensive will it be? Will people buy it? Is like for the restaurant example, is that even a feasible? How much would it cost the restaurant to implement, and then what would the return on investment be? Yeah. So
those are really the things that define if it actually takes off versus, stuff can be feasible for decades and then only take off when...
It has to be profitable, I think, is the bottom line.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that ties in well with this is computing power. So instead of... This is what I mentioned in our previous episode. I could have the brand new MacBook Air, or we could have a Surface, a Microsoft Surface. I don't want to be I'm kidding. I love Apple. I have a MacBook Air, and I'm accessing a 52,000 Mac Pro hooked up in a server, editing in a Starbucks that somehow has high-speed internet, and I can basically do my edit remotely on that Mac Pro machine. So I'm getting Mac Pro power and performance. And basically,
or like 20 Mac Pros.
20 Mac Pro power and because my videos deserve 20 Mac Pros with all the processing I do. But basically, I think that's a virtual desktop. Is that how you would describe that?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think virtual desktops are the future, and I actually think we'll see a subscription model go through. So instead of paying $6,000 up front, you'll just pay $60 a month or something like that, and that's, I
you can already kind of do that with, I know a lot of like, colleges, like universities for their science program to do like computing and stuff.
Right.
They'll, rent out space or rent out servers.
It's processing hours, basically. It's like you have a complex algorithm or task that needs to be computed, and you can go ahead and rent out a computer capable of doing that in a short period of time. Yeah. And I think we're almost already seeing this, I want to say, with Google Stadia. Like basically we have remote high-end computers running instances of games and then just streaming that content to a TV. And I want to say for most computer work, latency won't be, it would still be awful, but it wouldn't be as impactful as like gaming. And I think if Stadia can prove it can do it with gaming, I think it would be possible to do it with
bring it to more
with a workstation kind of task, like editing. I do think you could potentially do that with editing.
I was just thinking about AR. What could be that thing that makes it profitable, makes it exciting, or makes it profitable, I guess would be the big thing.
Yeah, it has to be profitable.
And, you look at 2 companies out there, or 3 companies that are probably the biggest leaders in AR. I think Google and Amazon and Facebook are up there.
I almost want to say Magic Leap, but they might actually be virtual reality.
Well, even if they are, but those companies are some of the biggest in the world.
They're pushing.
Obviously, they are teams dedicated to AR.
They have resources.
And they also are some of the biggest companies of what?
Voice assistants, smart assistants,
advertising.
Oh my God.
Yeah, right.
Wait, so do you think we could potentially be walking around with these AR glasses and have white billboards everywhere and just...
Well, it wouldn't be white billboards. It would be in the world. You'd be walking down and you'd see a little pop-up thing saying, oh, did you check out this cool coffee store right here?
Oh, so it'd be
Or,
like...
oh, the gas is only $2.20 over here.
So it'd be like Waze, like when you go to a stop site. A stop site. When you hit a stop light or a stop sign with Waze, for those of you who don't know, you basically get ads pop up in the app. Like the navigation part kind of dims, and basically all the Dunkin' Donuts show up and highlight on maps.
New England,
because they're paying to advertise on Waze, and that's how the advertisements work. So you think we'll see this in the real world?
Well, I think this would be how it'd become more accessible to people, right? Because they're going to be expensive at first. But I think if a company like Amazon, Google, or Facebook implements ads in the product, they're going to want to be like, let's get these in people using these quicker, because then we can expand our platform, get a lot more people that we can serve these ads to.
So you think they will basically subsidize the cost of the product with advertiser revenue? I
mean, it's somewhat what they've done. Well, not with advertiser revenue, but it's kind of what they have with smart home products. Very much so with Alexa, especially because they know people are going to shop with that. They're going to buy Amazon Prime, right? They're getting them into our ecosystem. This is kind of the same thing. We're getting them into our ecosystem, but it's for ads.
Yeah, I guess.
So it's kind of like how you offer Facebook for free, right? But we get all your user data. This is we're offering this as a discounted price, but we're getting your user data. We're getting a new platform to serve you ads that's probably going to be the most responsive, the most targeted, essentially.
How do you think they'd roll it out? Would they just make a product and then make it available to purchase? Do you think? Because we saw, I think it was with the original Amazon Echo, they actually started with kind of a beta program. You had to be a Prime member. You had to get a special invite to use that first product. How do you think they may go about rolling this out?
That's tough to tell. I mean, I think we might see something similar. They also did that with Google Glass, where they had, the developers edition, then they finally rolled it out to the public. So we'll probably see something like that, just because it is so bleeding edge. They'll want to create a little hype around it as well, just so it doesn't get lost, and make it limited edition or make it only certain people, and then roll it out. But yeah, I think that could be something interesting in AR. I was also thinking, speaking of AR, I think AR isn't going to just be limited to visual. I think it's also going to be tied in with audio.
Interesting.
And we mentioned this in our last episode. I was talking about it, but I think, we're seeing these AirPods, these wireless earbuds. We're seeing now the AirPod Pros, which have noise canceling, and we're going to see those coming to other brands and other companies releasing similar products. And the battery life is getting better and better. So eventually, I think, in this next decade, we're going to be wearing those constantly. You'll just have them in. You can be listening to something, listening to your TV, listening to your, favorite podcast. When someone talks to you, you can hear them because it'll know, all right, that person's talking to you, and it will, smartly let that sound in, but it'll keep all the other sounds out potentially. And then the thing is, you can get targeted with ads as well, potentially. Maybe when you're walking down the street, it pops up, oh, by the way, check out this when you are in the area. I know you're heading there, or something like that. And it could target those ads kind of like you would be walking by someone. So as you'd walk by, like the coffee store, they could advertise, oh, try our coffee. Like,
hey, you want coffee? That sounds like a very scary future. Yeah, I would not like that. I don't think that will happen because of Apple. And you mentioned like AirPods were the defining product. I think Apple is so locked down on privacy. And
but look who else has wireless earbuds: Amazon, Google, Facebook doesn't. Okay, they have Portal. I don't know what they're doing over there.
We'll see. Speaking
of, hold on, Portal. That is a very applicable name for some AR stuff.
You think? How do you so? Where do you see this going?
Portal AR.
Portal AR.
I mean, there's your glasses right there that you have for any augmented reality.
Do you think that's what they're going to be called? Like, what do you mean by that?
I don't know. Doesn't Portal seem to lend itself very nicely? Just the name Portal as a branding, right?
Yeah, because it's literally like
it's portal. It's a portal into another.
Well, it's not really another world, but it
is, because you take it off, that world's not there. That overlay. Those,
I guess, yeah. It reminds me a lot of the Portal video game, in a sense we could go through. That was really fun.
So it's not I don't think tangent. That's one thing I don't think we'll be having.
Okay. So where do you see cameras going? Because we talked a lot about computers and AR. Where do you think cameras are going to go? Action cams, because we have the Spectacles 3. We talked about them actually kind of as a failure, but they still have cameras built into them. It's kind of a convenient way to record moments. Do you have any predictions for where do you see us going?
Okay. I mean, this is always hard because cameras very much follow the trends of what, kind of processing, what people want to create, the creation platforms. Like, there's a lot of things pulling the cameras. And I don't think it's the other way around. I think cameras get pulled to create for that stuff.
That's an interesting way of thinking about that, actually.
So the 3 things I think we'll see a lot more of in this next decade.
Hit me.
All right. Oh, that's shooting.
Yeah, whoa, let's put that one down.
Take it down a
put
notch.
The safety
just
on.
Just hitting, just a nice across the face slap. All right. So yeah, I think it will be 360 cameras.
Okay.
I think it will be drones.
Okay.
Actually, I think I can just confidently. I was gonna say gimbals as well, getting even smaller, but that's too specialized. I think it'll just be 360 cameras and drones are the 2 big things.
So we're going to see the biggest innovations with them, or like, what do you mean by that?
I think those will a lot take over in the sense I think we'll see 360 cameras coming into fruition so much that you can just go and shoot with a 360 camera and edit everything in post, right?
Oh, you mentioned this. Yeah, I like that.
You go shoot with a 360 camera. Why do you have to frame it up? Just shoot everything basically, and then just choose what you want to frame later. And integrating this with drones, I think we'll see 360 cameras put on drones, because one of the biggest issues with a 360 camera up until this point was you're holding it out, you have it on a tripod, and you can always, there's that whole stitching thing of anything that's close to the camera is hard to stitch together, and it looks weird, and it's misaligned. Put 360 cameras on a drone, there's nothing around it, right? You put those on the top, the bottom, and the sides of the drone, those cameras, you don't see the drone essentially. It's just a camera floating in space.
That's really interesting.
So, yeah, that's what I think. The combination of those 2. Then guess who just came out with a product that is really good at flying around and avoiding stuff?
DJI.
No, not DJI.
Oh, no. Oh, man. Hit me up. Yes, thank you. Oh, my God.
Save you.
I was thinking of the Alcatel.
The Skydio 2, right, is just coming out right at the end of this decade. This next decade, we'll have drones that can fly literally without you touching them, through houses, up and down, don't even need GPS, they're just all sensing, right? And they have those cameras, they can be capturing 3D data, take all that data into post, recreate a 3D model from that data, and then move your own camera in. Through
the world.
Through whatever it is.
That, I feel like that'd be challenging for action. Like, if you have something that's happening.
I think there's definitely some limitation to this, but I think we'll see more and more of this. For example, like, just send a drone following after someone, right, to film.
Yeah.
Say you want to film someone biking or something, and then you can move the camera around and pan around as you want. Maybe.
Do you think this will be more
or even
used?
What about have a swarm of drones?
Oh my gosh!
And then you can switch around cameras and pan from one drone to another smoothly.
You could get like a bullet time effect.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And they almost do this in sports. Like, they'll cut between cameras, but have a 3D model generated between those cuts so you can see it.
So it looks like just a smooth slide.
Yeah. And okay, so do you think this will be more impactful in photography or video?
I think because of what you mentioned about live action and like action stuff, I think probably for photography.
You think the 360, like, you capture everything and then reframe?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. What do you think? Video?
I think video, and I think video because photography is so compositional. You see through the viewfinder, you compose the shot, you understand what you want in frame. I think people would just dislike shooting 360. Like, you basically hold it out and push a button, and then you have to go and crop it in post. I think it'd be more time efficient, and they'd enjoy it more composing it themselves with the camera they have. So I actually think it'd be more useful for video, sports, action, events.
Yeah, I mean, we have seen GoPro do some really amazing stuff, and Insta360X, those 2 cameras, the GoPro, what is it, GoPro X, the GoPro Max, I think now they're calling it.
That's what they're calling it.
Switched it up. It was the GoPro Fusion at first, but yeah, these cameras that, you don't have to worry about leveling the horizon. You stick it out, go. You can reframe the shot as you're going, in post, so you can have it move down from the sky to you, then back up to the sky by the end of the shot. Like,
I think that's impactful. Okay, the other thing, this is a hot take. So you basically described creating a 3D world and maybe like moving the camera through it or filming it that way. My take is this: we will see movies that are all computer generated, and all they're doing to film the movie is they have something like an Atmos Ninja with handles on it, and that's the camera. Like, that's the portal into the 3D
Stetson.
world. Yeah.
I don't want to burst your bubble.
You're gonna they're already doing this.
Yeah.
Well, that's
the
okay.
Lion King.
That was how that was done.
That was literally shot like that. They flew drones around that didn't have cameras on them, that just had sensors sensing where the cameras would be. And those cameras were filming Pride Rock. Or they had, a crane set up, and they were doing a crane shot, but there was nothing. They were just in a random warehouse with nothing set up, and that crane shot was filming the 3D environment that was moving and reacting as they had programmed it to.
Oh, interesting. So, I guess my
But you're right. This will be more and more common.
I think it'll be the future.
If you've seen The Lion King, have you seen that?
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it. A lot of people probably have because it was very popular. And that movie is incredible as far as it's animated technically, and that's what it's getting nominated for in the Oscars, I think. But it's not animated. That's a live action movie.
That's amazing. I guess my prediction going forward is this type of filmmaking will start to dominate, and we will see more and more films. I think like the Avatar series.
Yeah.
We'll just see those come out, and suddenly people filmmakers won't need cameras.
Yeah. And I think this could also lend itself to 360, movies being produced, because up until now, the two biggest factors holding back 360 movies from being actually a thing that happened.
What is a 360 movie?
Basically just movies that are filmed in 360 degrees.
So you could just spin around
on a 360 camera, yeah. So you can look around and such.
How do you consume that? Would it just be you would need a headset?
Well,
or a phone?
That's the two things. The two things is filming it, because how do you film it and get rid of all your crew and your camera
lights,
carrying equipment and such? And then the other thing is, where do you view it? So if by creating it in 3D. Graphics and creating it digitally, you're getting rid of that first thing. Then the other thing we have to come up with, how do you view that?
Right, you
do
need
you
a
view
headset.
that in a special room that you sit in where you spin around and it's
people would just get nauseous. They're throwing
up. Or
up.
do you have a headset? Is it AR?
You would need a headset. I think that's how you would.
Do you have videos, or this is going back to the AR, but do you have movies that are locationally based? So you go to
I think that's crazy talk.
Boston, Mass, and there's a whole AR movie taking place in the city.
Okay, I bet. I'm not sure. I mean, that sounds just absolutely nuts.
So you'd be walking around on your daily, and you'd see you'd see these two lovers crying on the corner, right, and having an argument, and then the next day maybe you'd see them. Right? You'd be walking through, and the story would be happening around you.
Wow, that's wild. And those would be with the glasses.
Yeah.
This product that doesn't exist, this fantasy product,
this AR
that would need some kind of standard developed between these companies, and there's no way that's going to happen.
No, yeah.
I think we could possibly see an AR, not AR, but instead of going to a movie theater, you'd go to a theater, there'd be no screen, and everyone would have headsets. What do you think? How weird would that be?
I mean, I could see that as a possibility. It does lose a bit of the shared experience, because you'd all be looking at different things.
Yeah, but if you're watching at the same time, do you think you could connect with people?
Possibly. I don't know. That'll be interesting to see if that actually happens. But yeah, I mean, movie theaters in general, will they be around in 10 years? I mean, for the past 20 years, they've pretty much been saying movie theaters, DVDs are out. Okay, that's the end of movie theaters. Oh, TVs, live streaming is out. Oh, that's the end of movie theaters.
Well, what do you think? I mean, how do you enjoy watching your movies, and what do you think we're going to see in the next decade when it comes to movies?
Well, I think movie theaters are great for events, right? For event type movies, right? The new Avengers come out.
Yeah.
I'm going to go see that with friends at the movie theater. I'm not going to see that at home.
Oh, you're not going to do a home viewing? Get a nice 4K OLED TV?
No, it's movie theaters are great because they're a communal experience.
Right, right.
Go with your friends. It's huge. It's fun. And I think, you're kind of seeing movie companies go towards that in their releases, where they're either making, all right, this is basically a movie just geared for streaming, or literally, we're just releasing it on our streaming service.
It's true.
Or it's a movie that we're making for theaters, and this is a huge blockbuster event type movie which people are going to want to go out and see in theaters.
I think theaters are going to stick around. I do think we'll see a subscription. You mentioned there are already subscription services, I think from Regal and from maybe AMC, other theaters. So I think that's going to be prominent.
But they might have, you're right, they might have to innovate and reinvent what the movie theater looks like, or add some new
like the experience of going, like maybe,
because I know there already are some VR like spaces
where you can just go and watch.
Where you can go do things, not at movie theaters, but in major cities, they have these new VR like labs that are popping up. I think
that could be a thing. Like you sell a VR experience, because those are nuts. Like just an hour using some tool,
and it's maybe
game.
Some like, maybe there's like treadmills on the floor so you can walk around and stuff like that. Yeah.
It's like you pay to go to a roller coaster ride. This would be, you're paying for an experience, and it's just a VR experience.
I mean, we're seeing those, like I said, in some places like that, or even more gimmicky in places like Dave and Buster's, where they have some VR rides and stuff like that.
Unreal. Okay.
That's interesting.
So that's kind of photography and entertainment.
Yep.
Where do you think the mobile industry is going? We talked about 5G. Specifically, I want to touch on phones and foldable phones and dual screen phones. We have two different approaches to folding devices. We have Microsoft Surface Duo, 2 screens with a hinge. That's their folding device. And we have Samsung Galaxy Fold. That is literally a screen, a tablet-sized phone that folds down. Where do you think this tech is going in the next decade?
Well, I think actually the question to answer is, what is it trying to accomplish?
I guess,
because don't you feel like a lot of the folding screen thing is just like some
pointless?
It's just like some innate coolness that it has, that we all feel like, oh, if it folds, it must be cool.
Like, yeah, but why?
Yeah, why is it cool that something folds? What is the usefulness?
I think, so my take is this.
Or is it not useful at all?
I'm going to take a stand and say we're going to see Microsoft's version of the Fold take off, where you have a hinge and you have 2 screens. I think that's going to be more effective and more productive than a physical folding phone like the Galaxy Fold, which has a plastic screen that's easily breakable. It's not going to have the same longevity, whereas the Surface Duo devices, those have Gorilla Glass. So that's a proper high-end phone design. So I think we're going to see the dual screen folding phones. I think the Galaxy, I'm going to predict it's going to die off. I really don't think that technology can sustain itself and prove itself.
Or the iPhone.
How do I see it evolving?
Yeah.
I think Apple's not going to release anything that folds until they figured it out.
Okay.
And they could be testing these 2 different methodologies right now and seeing what works. But I really think the dual screen device is going to be better. But I think you had mentioned like a tablet. What you really want is a folding tablet, because then you get the portability.
Well, that's what I think. Yeah, the usefulness and where people would want it is the ability to have a tablet, maybe a full 12-inch like iPad type thing, but have it fold down to be the size of an iPad mini.
So it's more
or
portable.
Even smaller. Like, what if you could 4 folds in that, right?
It's origami.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it folds down. It's a paper crane. Fold it back up. Boom. There's your iPad. So I think that's maybe the usefulness you'd see. I think in general, we'll see phones trying to do more and more things. So, there can be cameras. Like, what is the next thing that phones are going to be able to do?
I want to say what first came to my mind is health monitoring, because typically right now we need some sort of Fitbit or Apple Watch, another device to monitor heart rate and other things. It could be that phones build in sensors to do that. Honestly, though, I mean, the trend we saw this year was the bleeding edge display, like the full screen display.
Waterfall display, right?
Yeah, or the edge to edge, I guess is better, where you have that massive screen to body ratio, hole punch cameras, under the glass fingerprint readers. I just don't. I think phones, we're reaching our limit in usefulness.
Here's one thing. You were mentioning AR for displays. What about if there is no phone? Or what about if your phone is just...
Like you just tap something in front of you?
What if your phone is just a piece of glass, right? And it projects it onto that or something?
Oh, wow. And so it just tracks the user interface on that?
Yeah, and maybe that also has some more like data. I don't know. There's something that the piece of glass can do, right? Because my thing when I think futuristic, is you saw the original Avatar, right?
Yes.
So those tablets that they're using that are like clear,
You can
and they're
see
just
through.
nice swiping them up onto stuff, holding them over stuff. Like that seems really like, I'm like, when are we getting to that? And I know
Right.
the interesting thing about sci-fi films and stuff is you know, they'll have a ton of stuff in there that are essentially predictions of the future and their own takes on what the future will be. And it's very hard to discern and tell which is actually going to be the right, out of like the 20 products that they might use or design for that movie or for that TV show that's in the future, which ones are going to be the one that's actually the correct future. Like, for example, you look at Star Trek, right? The one thing they got right was they had a very similar thing to the first cell phones in there, the communicators.
Wow.
You look at the design, very similar to what cell phones ended up looking like. But all the other stuff, you're like, that's never come about or that's never going to be.
I think the trick is future technology needs to solve some kind of problem we have now or do something better. I don't think that transparent phone model with the AR glasses, I don't think that's going to be better.
Yeah, what would that really help you, I guess?
Than a regular phone. So I guess something I do see happening is a touchscreen Mac laptop. I think we could see that. I really do. And I think we'll see iPad OS kind of merge with Mac OS. I mean, it's already happening.
It's been talked about since the iPad was released, I think. I remember 2012, 2013, that was already being like, when is this going to be merged? Is it the next one? So that, yeah.
I'll throw out, I think we're going to see an iMac Pro redesign. I think that, or even an iMac redesign, like that's just long overdue. I think we'll see 120 hertz displays get introduced on laptops. I think that's going to be the next.
Why would that be?
Because it makes everything feel super fast.
I guess, but you're also sacrificing a lot of battery life potentially.
But battery technology we're going to have some kind of
another
breakthrough.
prediction. We're going to have another breakthrough.
Yeah, breakthrough. It's going to be awesome. I think we'll see LTE built into laptops going forward as well. I know you can hotspot on your phone, but I really think we'll see that.
Here's where I think
what do you think?
we haven't touched on.
We haven't talked about it. We've talked about it a lot.
This is the what is elephant in the room.
Yeah, I'm looking around right now. I swept out all the elephants.
This elephant's so smart.
Is it hiding in the cherry tree?
No.
Okay, that's a joke for anyone.
It being smart was a hint.
So it's smart home. We haven't talked
no,
AI.
That's where I think. This is the elephant in the room this is the skeleton in the closet for the next decade of, are we going to have AI come to the point where we hit the singularity and it becomes conscious, or it becomes able to do things on its own, or even with our help that is far beyond, because basically with technology, it advances at a kind of linear pace, right?
I think it's actually, isn't it like exponential, like processing power doubles every couple years?
But I mean, like it's pretty straightforward, right?
It's been predictable.
Yeah, you kind of like, all right, we're going to get a better camera, better, higher specs.
Yeah, better processor, better screen resolution.
Yeah, there hasn't really been any huge breakthroughs since, I guess, like the silicon revolution, right? When they figured out we can put chips on silicon and make them super small.
Yeah.
So I think AI, I think it's not a question of if, it's when that happens, will absolutely explode our tech and our innovations, because this will be able to do come up with calculations, come up with formulas, come up with anything at such a faster rate than any human ever could. It's kind of scary what it could do. I think we have to be careful, but I don't think we're gonna be, and I think it's just gonna happen.
I'm actually interested to see where that goes. And I like, maybe it could play into the movie world. Like, you use AI to generate that 3D world. Like, you can just use existing models, change some stuff, and boom, you've created your cinematic landscape for filming whatever your movie is.
Yeah.
But that's absolutely wild. I think, it could be interesting to see, because AI could basically take a lot of jobs, and people are typically unhappy when that happens, and but sometimes it just does it better, and that's kind of wild.
Well, yeah, there's definitely, I mean, I know Andrew Yang, if you're following at all politics, getting into politics, of course, because that's always a very fun issue to talk about. But Andrew Yang has talked a lot about how automation and AI is going to get rid of jobs, and I think this is something we're definitely going to see and have to deal with. And tech companies, I think, are going to be possibly like under the gun for how you're getting rid of jobs by creating this great product. what are we going to do to remedy that? You know, maybe are they going to be held accountable for that, or is that something that's seen as, hey, that's just happening?
I think we're going to need to figure out how to create more jobs. And one thing that really can't be taken away is creativity. Like, right?
But can it? I mean,
we'll find out, I guess. But I think it's one of the unique aspects of being a human is our creativity, our desire to tell stories and communicate visually and orally. And I'm not sure AI will fully replace that, but it may help.
Be interesting to see. I personally think that it can, and we're kind of fooling ourselves by saying that. Oh, no, it can't. But you look at how AI, I mean, I guess technically, yes, it can't, just in the way that a digital speaker can't replicate an analog speaker.
Sure.
Right? Just off the basis that it's counting on, it's working on incremental numbers, and like it can't do volume 7 point, because, there's nothing to replicate it, because analog, like there's no, when it says 7 and you're in between the 7 and 8, that just happens to be whatever it is.
It is, right.
And so AI might be able to replicate human creativity. It will technically never be able to be human creativity, I think.
Sure.
But maybe not also. I could be wrong.
We'll see. I think the other big thing we'll see is Nuralink. And I think basically one of the biggest limiting factors right now is how humans can communicate and interact with technology.
Yeah, the UI either has to be something that's audio, like Amazon Alexa. It has to be, digital. What's any other one?
You're touching it. You're using like physical input controls, like you're typing with your fingers. I think those are pretty much the big ones. Like there's some either physical or auditory communication mechanism.
I guess there's vibration, which would
maybe
also be
gestures too, like air gestures. But that's the limiting factor. You can only type so fast. You can only talk so fast. You can only communicate so fast with a computer to get the information you need. And what Nuralink...
and also in only so many ways, right?
Right.
Like you can only input via text, and then you go to this text field, and then,
I think Neuralink, it's going to be a breakthrough. It's going to be they're an ultra-high bandwidth communication interface between humans and technology. This, I think, will give access to information at our fingertips, where if you need to look something up, you can think it and almost instantly know the answer, or figure out the answer. And I think this could dramatically change learning. It could dramatically change maybe something like the medical industry, where if people are able to get accurate information instead of relying on memory, just looking something up and getting the accurate data points every single time. I mean, this could be game changing.
And that brings up, like, if we don't get to the singularity into AI to the point where it's like human level and it still needs human assistance, this would kind of be how you'd see, the best of both worlds of that. You'd see the machine learning, the algorithms, the AI, etc., or the primitive AI basically operating in tandem with humans, our innate ability to create, to make decisions, like the stuff that we can't really replicate with a computer yet. And then that would work very well together.
It'd go hand in hand.
Potentially.
And yeah. I think, all right. So you talked about, I guess, smart home.
Well, we didn't mention smart home.
I guess, all right. My thing was smart home, and you've brought this up a couple times.
Yeah.
I think there might be a big smart home hack.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking, we had this news recently that I think Google and Apple and a couple other companies came together to develop like a common standard.
Yeah.
So I think that we'll see a lot of this in the future. There was a lot of competition in this past decade. It was like,
Philips Hue, TP-Link.
Right. Each company had their own space, had their own app, had their own standard.
Oh, it was a nightmare.
They wanted to lock in consumers to that. They wanted to be able to make sure that their way was the way that was going forward, and they didn't want to compromise, because if they compromise, then you're lost behind.
The big problem with that is companies would do that, and then they would fold, and suddenly all your devices just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And I think that scared consumers enough where it's going to be beneficial for everyone to just get on the same standard.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is we'll see a huge increase in adoption, because if all right, any product I buy is going to work well with my smart home, and that's I think it's a difference between where Android and Mac or iOS aren't compatible that much. That's the difference, where it's just your digital world. You can all right, I'm going to switch from iOS to Android. All right, there's a decent, easy way to do it. I do it once, I'm done. Just my digital world. But if you have to swap everything out in your home because you decide to go
these light bulbs
from Zigbee link to some new standard that they create, it's a headache, and it's costing people tons of money, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, I think that is going to be the way of the future. I also think, speaking of unified, unfortunately, the trend I think going forward with tech companies is going to probably continue unless some government step in, is the formation of these huge monopolies, monolith companies.
What do you mean by that? What's an example? Like what?
Google,
So you think
Amazon,
because of
companies that are so huge that you literally cannot avoid interacting with them, giving them money, or buying their products.
like interacting with their services and stuff?
Exactly. Like, even if you don't want to, spend any money on Amazon, you don't have a Prime account, you don't own any of their products, you're still probably using a site that uses AWS web services.
Yeah.
You're still probably, there's so many ways that they're getting your money or getting your attention or your data or whatever. And yeah, I don't know. It's a scary thing because you look at all the sci-fi movies, or even movies like Pixar's Up, or
Sure.
not Up, sorry. Pixar's, well, it isn't Up technically if you follow the Pixar timeline on one universe theory about all the same thing. But it's in Pixar's WALL-E,
Yes.
by and large, right?
Yes.
That's their huge monolith corporation that basically takes over, destroys the world, so much pollution and consumption, and then creates a ship for these people to get off and escape Earth.
And just continue to give them money.
Right?
I guess,
and that's
wow.
kind of a little bit scary when you see that we're headed not necessarily towards that, but we're at least somewhere in that timeline. Even if it's a different timeline, we're kind of close.
I don't know if it makes sense to even try and defend this, but I will say if a company owns so many different aspects, they can often create really amazing experiences. And that's like the flip side. Like everything just works.
That's the flip side, but isn't that also like the bait in the poison trap?
I don't know.
Too?
I don't know, Gabe. I don't know.
Or is it not?
We'll see what happens. Okay, there's one more thing I want to mention, and that's privacy.
Okay.
I think.
Well, this is very applicable here.
I mean, I think we need to figure out how to regulate it. And my prediction in the next decade is, first of all, I think the U.S. is just being too slow. People don't know what's going on. Everything's happening so fast. I think the EU, I think they've got it together. I predict they will implement some sort of regulation that makes sense, and it will either be adopted or the regulation will be implemented in some way that's just like applied.
What about, kind of branching off from this? I guess it's the same thing though, but data.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll see a world organization of data?
Isn't like Wolfram Alpha that or something like that? Like, or Wikipedia? Like, what do you mean by that?
By that I mean some organization that, controls and sets standards for how people's data, like your
stored,
personal data,
protected.
like how the data of all your information of like, that Google's collecting on you, what they can do with that, can they sell that to companies? Can they, serve you ads? How many ads? What type of ad, right?
Yeah.
Like, do they have to offer you a way to delete it? Do they have to offer you a way to opt out of stuff, right?
How much money could I make if I sold my own data?
That's what
I
going back
know.
to Andrew Yang thinks that people should get a dividend or some sort of payment from companies
for their data,
right? It's like it's the next commodity. It's like oil.
It is. Attention is also a commodity too.
And that's harnessed through data.
Yeah.
That's harvested that way.
I think I don't know how to stand on this. I guess I don't have enough information.
I know.
Like it makes sense to have some kind of standard. At the same time as the business model of a lot of these companies, like I'm using Google Docs for free and all these services, and they're able to provide that mostly because of the advertising and what kind of data they get.
And we like that. I mean, that's all these social media platforms.
Yeah.
That's how they operate. You get a great way to share content, to enjoy content at the same time.
Everything, all your likes, your interests, they can create a virtual model. You can use AI to analyze you. And
basically all those networks as well are engineers that have created the best dopamine delivery system in the world.
It's true.
Right?
Have you heard of dopamine fasting?
Yeah. It's something I've never done. Something I should probably do.
I saw a headline about that. I thought it was interesting. I mean, it could be ridiculous. Yeah, that's a really good point, and it's very thought-provoking. And I guess my stance right now is I'm okay with most data collection of me because I feel like the services and tools I get are worth it. But what's awful is like the huge hacks where data leaks that's really important, like your personal identification or credit cards, like that needs to be like locked down. Like that shouldn't happen.
And also, what do you think about the credit cards? You mentioned credit score What about a social credit score? Do you think
Isn't China doing that?
China's already doing this, and with China about to become, in the next 10 years, the world's biggest economy, do you think more countries are going to be following suit and, implementing something like this, with the hopes of good, but maybe not?
I just don't know. I guess I think the concern for me is that there's some sort of vulnerability, and the information that these systems are using could be somehow used maliciously in some way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, this is a decade though. I'm not sure.
We're getting out a little bit into more societal
50 years. I mean, it's just a lot happened in 10 years, but a lot is just so slow.
I have something that I think we're already seeing.
Yeah.
And will definitely happen the next decade.
Hit me. Actually, I'm a little sore. Don't hit me. But just gently
just
tell
lay
me.
it on the table here.
Yeah. What do we got?
Cords. R.I.P.
They're gone?
Yep.
Dude, you think the next
iPhone...
Unplug
these mics right now. We don't need them. Yeah, right. No, I mean, the next iPhone they're saying might not, or even the one after that, might not have any port at all. And might just be wireless charging.
What do you think about that? I mean, this is our chance to make a legitimate prediction. We're sitting down here right now.
I think it's going to happen, okay?
You think it's happening?
I think it's going to happen. Why? I mean, other than high-powered platforms, possibly, or professional settings, why do you need a cord connecting you to anything?
You need it for data.
That's what I'm saying. Other than professional, all right, you need the super fastest data, so connection, so you're going to use Ethernet, which is hooked up to
hang on. It wasn't data, it's diagnostics. You need, even the Apple Watch has a way to physically connect it to get diagnostic data.
Okay, so maybe there'll be some way for a company to take it apart and put it
and get a cable in there.
But I think on the consumer end, you're not going to, you'll charge wirelessly. I think the wireless charging will get better so it can charge over a distance other than just setting it on. You could have a little thing embedded in sitting on your desk and set your laptop down next to it, and it's charging your laptop at a fast rate. So
I mean, it's just such a bad user experience because the amount of times that I'm charging my phone and holding it is actually a lot.
But what if it can charge it while you're holding it?
Without any wires?
Yeah.
I would be legitimately concerned
what if it's
about
a whole room?
The radiation that's causing?
Yeah, I know. We're already getting cancer from our Wi-Fi and our Bluetooth. Why does it matter if we're getting it from our charging?
Oh my God.
You said about ease of use, right? If they can create a nice, easy experience where you just put this one power thing in your room and boom, you just charge any device that's in it.
My question is, what problem does this solve and how is it beneficial?
I mean, it solves the whole thing of having to bring 20 cables wherever I go.
I mean, you'd have to charge it somehow, so you'd have to bring a cable with a wireless charging pad.
No,
right?
you just bring this large thing that broadcasts wireless energy.
So you're just bringing one device to wirelessly broadcast energy to
all my different devices. Yeah.
To your one iPhone in 2 years, it's going to support it.
No, this is at the end of a decade. This is a prediction for a decade.
You're thinking at the end of the decade?
So the end of the decade, the laptop will charge wirelessly, my camera, and it's not just you have to set it on. It's it just has to be within 5 feet, maybe.
I think that's an ambitious prediction.
Tesla was doing this back in the 1900s, early 1900s, yeah.
Okay.
Broadcasting energy over miles.
Really?
Yes.
But it was probably very specific and direct, and there's a bunch of limitations. Very specific, direct.
I mean, yes. I mean, it was like anything. They have these breakthroughs in science that happens, but that never makes it to consumer technology for years. And I don't think we'll be doing stuff like that, but I feel like cords are pretty annoying a lot of times. And if you could even get 90 to 80% of the performance without a cord, I would be down for that.
I think I'm going to take a reverse stance. I'm doing this just to be different. Audience, I'm curious to hear.
This would be nice to look back in 10 years.
Yeah, and Gabe can be like, ha, ha, ha.
Booyah.
Shopping cart just rolled his direction.
Wirelessly charged.
I think I'm going to go fast charging over wireless charging. I think computers could get fast charging.
It's going to get to the point where my argument is it's going to get to the point where it's just the same.
You think the speed will be the same?
The speed, or at least the speed is so fast on both that it's not going to matter, right? Yeah, the fast charging over wired could charge your phone, 2 minutes faster, but they're both charging your phone up in under 10 minutes.
Sure. Huh.
I don't know. That's just what I think. And I mean, especially where we did see that leak that Apple was getting rid of the cord and the plug-in in their phone. That's why I thought this is really something that could be happening.
They've been very stubborn about switching over to USB Type-C. They're still using Lightning.
They don't want to. They'd rather switch to nothing.
Which is surprising for some products, such as their wireless keyboard, right?
Yeah.
Like that plugs into a Mac, which is basically all using USB Type-C, and yet it uses a Lightning.
That's awful.
That is so stupid. And the stubbornness of Apple. First of all, it's weird that they've been proactive at adopting it in their Macs and their iPad, but the stubbornness to move it over to their mobile devices has me concerned they would consider a portless iPhone.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess I'm just like nervous at predicting that. I don't think it's going to happen. I guess, all right, so what Marquez said on his podcast is it would have to, in order to have, I guess to your point too, in order to have this be a success, you need a wireless charging standard that is equal to or better than.
That's what I'm saying.
Wired. Yeah. But how far off is that standard? Do you think we're going to get there in 10 years?
Yeah, true. That's
right?
That's a good point. But I mean, to that, we didn't have any wireless charging at the beginning. I mean, other than like the charging where you'd set your like Sonicare down in the whole
toothbrush,
right?
Yeah.
Well, how does that what everyone thinks of?
Dude, it's just like that's what toothbrushes do. You go into someone's bathroom, it's like, oh, they have the cool electric toothbrush that wirelessly charges.
And Qi charging didn't really come around till I want to say 2013, 2014. It started gaining some popularity. Sure. And then now by the end of the decade, it's really like IKEA is incorporating it in their furniture. It's taken off to a whole nother level.
I'm going to go no. I'm going to go no. I'm going to say fast charging, and I'd love to see fast charging in Mac computers as well.
Do you think that will be not only by the cords and the power, but also by the type of batteries that we get batteries that are able to be charged even faster?
Yeah, I think we'll see some sort of battery improvement.
And also that goes to electric cars.
Will
we see like hydrogen cars? Will we see liquid battery cars? Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that.
Where it's like rather than charging up, you just replace the liquid. And it's a charged liquid.
I think it'll be replacing the battery. That's what I think. We'll just see like full battery.
Swap out? Okay.
Yeah, swap like with your camera. You just pop the battery out, pop the battery in, you're good to go.
Rather than, faster charging?
I think. I mean, actually, I'd change that back. I think faster charging, that's obviously the way forward. Like no one's going to swap out their battery.
Yeah. Then we'll see, obviously, self-driving cars. You think?
Yeah, actually, I do. I think...
This one, though, depends. We're getting back into
regulations.
Politics. Yeah,
and that's like, they're so slow. I think the technology is like almost there now. And if there were laws that would allow them to get more data and collect more rides, then I think it would go faster and we'd have it sooner. But I don't know. Regulation just slows that down. So I think we'll see the first commercially available driverless experience in the next decade. It might only be in like Arizona or someplace. Yeah. I think it'll happen.
And you think that we'll be ready for that as far as like socially and ethically?
Yeah.
Because I think the big ethical dilemma when it comes to self-driving cars is if a self-driving car is going to hit someone, right? Say you're driving along and then it sees a person and it says, all right, I'm going to hit that person unless I swerve, but if I do that, I'm going to flip over and possibly kill the occupants of this car.
Right. That comes back to like
and that's
morals.
Not necessarily like someone has to go in and choose yes or no programming, right? It's not like they do that, but essentially that is what they're programming in through code, that choice is at some point going to be made. And are we okay with a machine making that? Because a person would make that in a split second anyways, and are they really making it at that point? It's like, so.
Yeah, I mean.
And also, okay, here's another thing. If a self-driving car kills someone, who's at fault?
Right?
Is it the company? Is it the person driving?
That's happened, I think, once, right?
Or if they were saying if it kills the person in the car.
Who's at fault?
Yeah. So.
I think it depends on the circumstance.
That brings up a lot of questions.
But yeah, I mean.
And also, here's another thing. Sorry, let's add some more things to this fire. Drones, right? We talked about them earlier. Self-driving, self-piloting, flying drones.
Right. Okay. Well, I guess let's move on from the vehicles.
Aerial taxis.
I think in order for the vehicle to make, like, if you were to get inside of a vehicle, I think you as the occupant would want to be protected.
Because when. One of the big things about self-driving cars is they have to navigate a road system, which is super complicated.
Yeah.
And such. Once you get in the air, that's a lot easier.
It's safer.
Yeah.
So I think, all right, and then I think that'll actually be huge because we've seen some implications of drones delivering life-saving medication, and basically allowing much quicker transportation of very important items.
Yeah, and the FAA, that is something they're definitely trying to expedite, is getting some sort of regulations in place and also the framework for our, air traffic communication system to handle a bunch of drones zipping autonomously around.
And I think you could do that too. There's so much airspace. You get them at like 600 feet or something, like above the 400-foot limit for most pilots, then I think you're good to go. Do you think Amazon is going to start delivering with drones? Like, is that...
Well, we've had right now, UPS actually is the first one who was granted the authority or the right to do beyond line of sight drone deliveries testing.
Interesting.
So I would think that they would probably be first. I feel like the government, it depends who's in power, but a lot of times the government doesn't trust Amazon just because they're so big and everything. But a dedicated delivery service has more incentive, I feel, to try to innovate. And, we put it down in our notes for the past decade.
Yes.
The Amazon drone delivery, they had, what they call it, Amazon Air, I think.
Sure. Let's go with that. Sounds great. That's a good name for it.
I think it was Amazon Air Prime. That came out in, 2013.
Way back then?
Yes. Amazon Prime Air promo video. And Bezos went on 60 Minutes, talked about this. And what?
I don't know. I guess it flopped. I don't know.
Pretty much. It's pretty incredible, I think.
It came to a halt.
It just doesn't seem like it was that long ago. But yeah, you can go look it up, Amazon Prime Air, and there's this it looks really, very optimistic and everything. But 7 years have gone by now and nothing. Okay,
speaking of Amazon, what about the Amazon store? They have like that cashierless store. Where do you think shopping is going?
Shopping? I mean, do people still want to go into a shop?
No.
I think, potentially. It depends. How long do they have to wait, right? That's the whole thing. For Prime Delivery, is Prime Delivery down to now, if you're in a city, you can get it in 10 minutes? Or is it the fact that you got to, wait still like a day?
Sure.
To get it?
I also really like the grocery delivery service. I used Instacart while at Ithaca.
Well, that's exactly right. See,
that was amazing. Like,
if Instacart was, took 6 hours, would you use it? Maybe.
I mean, probably. I just have to plan ahead a little bit more.
But it's a lot, a lot more people are going to adopt that technology if it's an hour. So
sure.
Amazon might not need to have those physical stores without cashiers if they can just have drones come to you in 10 minutes or less.
That would be mind-boggling. I think we're far off from that though.
Yeah, potentially, but that's always interesting to think about. I don't know. Do you have any other predictions? We're getting a little long. We were trying to keep this
short one, but I mean, there's just so many exciting things.
It's a whole decade,
and so much happened in this past decade. Do you think there'll be any new product categories? Yes, I think there'll be the AR glasses.
I mean, there will be. But
that's
what those are. Is kind of hard to predict.
How expensive? Yeah. I think. I mean,
last thought for the decade. This is coming out December 30th, 31st.
Last thoughts for the decade. It was a good decade for me.
Last thoughts for the next decade.
For the next decade?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be in Acton, Massachusetts anymore. I think I'm going to be somewhere else.
My last thoughts for the next decade would be, I think, I don't know.
I think all my lights will be Philips Hue. I also think that. That's my,
Philips Hue?
You're any personal predictions?
Like what brand?
Yeah.
Personal prediction. Okay, let's go to that. Personal predictions. Yeah, those are a lot harder, actually. I was going to say easier, but somehow it's almost harder. I'll predict that I am going to be living someplace where it's warm.
No, well, that should be in like a couple months.
Well, in a couple months, but I think I'll still be living someplace where it's warm.
I agree.
I'll hopefully predict that California has not sheared off from the rest of United States San Andreas style and, fallen into the ocean.
Ooh.
That would not be very good. So let's just put that prediction out there into the air so I can manifest that.
I like that. I think I want to be someplace warm too. So maybe I'll maybe like Texas or something.
And I want to have that Nuralink with drones. That's what I want to have.
You're just flying around in your mind?
With your mind.
Oh, that would be crazy. Like the cinematography, the moves you could get.
You can do everything.
Unreal.
So good.
Oh, I guess the last thing I wanted to talk about is the Starlink.
All right, yeah.
All right, 2 predictions. I think this will be it for me. 2 options here. 1, we have like LTE replacing, or I guess 5G or whatever, replacing home internet, because there are some rural locations where LTE is way faster than like the copper cable they have in the ground. Or second option, we have some sort of satellite internet connection, potentially Starlink, potentially something else, that will replace mobile, like it'll replace 5G, it'll replace LTE, and it will replace home internet.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't know. That's my two thoughts.
Here we go. We were out at the stars there.
Yeah.
Will you have taken a trip in space by then?
No, I will not. No.
You don't think so?
I'm not going to space.
You don't think that's... Well, but will most people have to... Like, will that be like the next...
That's the next ride?
Yeah.
Only for the ultra wealthy.
You think it's
that's
still
expensive.
by 2030, it will still be the ultra wealthy only?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Then the decade after that?
Maybe. Then
All right.
maybe.
Then the one after that. What's your predictions for 2050?
I don't know, Gabe. I just don't know anymore, okay?
Fourth dimension will be discovered by then, I think.
You think that's what will be? Time travel?
Will be some, what's that movie by Christopher Nolan?
I don't know. Maybe I'll be powered by USB Type-C.
You think? No, we'll be on USB Type-Z by then, hopefully.
A new standard.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's going to do it for this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm Stetson.
No, wait.
We have to do like proper outros.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still Stetson, so we're good there.
Will you be Stetson at the end of 20?
I think
30.
I will. Will I be married? I don't know.
Yeah.
Those are the personal
and maybe
things.
By then people will change their first names when they get married, so you won't be Stetson.
Yeah, that would really blow up in my face. All right.
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening. I'll do this one. This is how we're ending it. Thank you. This has been our first year doing the Pinch to Zoom podcast. We appreciate you guys listening for this episode, for 2 episodes, or just, well, if you're not listening to this, it wouldn't.
For all the episodes you have participated.
It wouldn't make sense to say none
in our conversation.
Basically. But yeah, like, you can follow us on any of the social media platforms. Well, okay, not any of them. Why don't you do this? I can't do this.
Yeah, so you can follow us on Twitter at Pinch to Zoom Pod, on Instagram at Pinch to Zoom Podcast, email us pinchtozoompodcast@gmail.com, and you can listen to us anywhere you get your podcasts. So thank you so much for listening to this episode, and we look forward to talking to you in the next decade.
In 2020.
Yeah, so I'm Stetson.
I'm Gabe.
And we'll talk to you next time.
That was good.
It was good.
Too good, actually. I'm going to have to delete it.
I predict we're going to upgrade our audio gear in the next decade because we're going to get one of those cloud lifting microphones, and we're just never going to have to worry about
it's just going to fly on a drone.
I think that's something else.